the theme for the opening night of the Republican National Convention. President Trump is expected to accept the renomination Thursday night, but he's not waiting in the shadows until then. He spoke earlier today in Mills River, North Carolina, about progress in combating COVID-19.
We expect to have a vaccine available before the end of the year, and maybe a lot sooner than that.
The president also saying he is authorizing another $1 billion in the Food for Families program that's been assisting families during the pandemic. Some of the featured speakers tonight include former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. Fox News Radio's Democracy 2020 coverage of the Republican National Convention live tonight, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Download the Fox News app, click Listen to listen live. Louisiana on high alert as a pair of tropical systems takes aim at the state. Marco is falling apart, but is still bringing heavy rain. But Tropical Storm Laura could hit as a Category 3 hurricane.
We know that the water in the Gulf is very warm and will fuel the storm, and so they expect that Laura will strengthen significantly and in a relatively short period of time as it starts moving through the Gulf towards Louisiana.
Governor John Bel Edwards, Laura has killed at least 11 people in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. It's also knocked out power and caused major flooding. The National Guard's been called in to assist in keeping the peace in Kenosha, Wisconsin, after a black man was shot in the back, apparently by a police officer. Last night, protesters set cars on fire and smashed windows over the wounding of 29-year-old Jacob Blake. He is hospitalized in serious condition. Jerry Falwell Jr. has resigned as president of Liberty University, according to a school official. This coming after he issued a statement claiming a man his wife was having an affair with attempted to blackmail them. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 has been a gut punch to American business. And if you're going to succeed, you need every possible advantage. That's why savvy companies like Moink run on NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. With NetSuite, Moink has visibility and control over their financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything they need, all in one place. So they can deliver ethically raised, delicious meat to homes all across the country. Here's Moink founder, Lucinda Cramsey.
Feeding America is not a job I take lightly. I need to know how my numbers translate to food on folks' tables. So I ain't got no time for a math mistake. NetSuite is my single source of truth. Financials, inventory, and supply chain, all in real time. Americans depend on Moink to keep their families fed, so I depend on NetSuite.
NetSuite surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook called 7 Actions Businesses Need to Take Now. Receive your free playbook and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. That's netsuite.com/Fox.
New York's Attorney General asking a court to enforce the subpoenas into an investigation of President Trump and his business assets.
Attorney General Letitia James is investigating whether President Donald Trump and the Trump Organization inflated the value of assets to secure loans, tax breaks, and other economic benefits. The probe set in motion last year after the president's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, told Congress that the president falsified the value of his assets to obtain better terms for loans and insurance coverage. The Democratic Attorney General is particularly interested in the valuation of a New York estate owned by the Trump family. A court filing says James's office issued a number of subpoenas and has taken testimony seeking information material to these matters. Investigators have not yet determined whether any laws were broken. Steve Rappaport, Fox News.
Airlines taking more steps to keep passengers and crew safe.
American Airlines will be using a new coating called Surface Wise 2 that kills coronaviruses and bacteria on surfaces for up to 7 days. Reuters says the EPA will allow American to use it on flights originating in Texas. Delta Airlines has doubled its number of cabin cleaners and has revamped pit stops for deeper cleaning of planes. A flight attendant and gate agent will inspect the plane before it's cleared to board. Delta is also purchasing test kits that measure the amount of bacteria on airplane and airport surfaces, though the kits don't test for COVID-19. Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
New York City's famed museums will open again after lockdowns. Governor Andrew Cuomo is allowing the Metropolitan Museum of Art to open August 29th. The Museum of Natural History set to reopen September 9th at 25% capacity. Gyms and fitness centers will open at 33% capacity across the state. But New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says gyms in the city will remain closed until at least September 2nd. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
America A report finds it's not okay to just start talking to people you don't know, and a monstrosity is created in the Frito-Lay laboratory. This is the Onion Week in Review. Local newborn Nathan Jameson surprised the world earlier this morning by irrevocably losing all faith in humanity after just 6 days. Though he's not yet developed the capacity for speech, spokespeople for the 6-day-old baby have confirmed he already knows that humans cannot be trusted and that most people lack self-awareness about their own destructive tendencies.
While most people need around 30 or 40 years to truly understand that the vast majority of humanity is shallow and irredeemable, baby Nathan's convinced that he has seen all that he needs to see. People have been nice and even brought him toys and presents. But the fact is, Nathan knows they're all full of shit.
And in this week's science report, botanists discover trees are all slowly trying to strangle each other. In other news, a fun-loving turtle is all business when it comes to feeding time, and a partygoer rolls a couple of fat burritos to pass around.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Who the heck let this guy run the board? What's going on? Did I press the right buttons? Can you hear me out there in Radio Land? I hope so. This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, like freedom. You can also get us on our Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. In the studio with you tonight on this live Monday night edition, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And let's just kick things off right away with this bit that I got. This is from Vice.com from August 20th. Cops raided and shut down the only magic mushroom church in the United States.
Well, the only one they know about.
Well, okay.
That's an important distinction.
That's a good point. I'm sure there are others. This one, near as I can tell, was actually following the letter of the law. Near as I can tell. And I say that because this is out of Oakland, California, where they actually decriminalized the mushrooms, but yet cops still raided and shut them down. The teaser headline is Oakland police marched into the Zide Door. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing that. Z-I-D-E.
Sounds like Zide Door.
Zide Door Church of Entheogenic Plants.
It's awesome.
They seized its stash and called in firefighters to bust open the safes, according to photos and videos posted to Instagram. And, of course...
Oh, wow.
Is that a thing?
Firefighters do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to write a song called, F the Firefighters.
F the Firefighters, because they do show a picture of a couple of firefighters. It looks like one of them is operating either, I believe that's some sort of a metal grinder to cut through the metal of the safe. And then they show another picture that I can't quite determine what they're doing, but there are several firefighters, at least judging by the hats that they're wearing. Because, as George Carlin said, hats might be important. Pay attention to that.
Oh, yeah. Hats make a difference.
So, yeah, they apparently raided this place. The Zide Church of Entheogenic Plants in Oakland, California, was the most prominent magic mushroom club in the United States, if not the country's only brick-and-mortar venue for purchasing psilocybin.
Oh, they were selling it. See, that's going to be a different story, Captain.
Or were people donating to the church and the church providing them with some sort of religious
they've got that
religious
covered.
Bits like the wine and the crackers.
The thing is, if it's necessary to do mushrooms for your religion, then you have to pay for those mushrooms. I mean, I don't know if anybody whose religion says you should go steal mushrooms.
Right.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, nobody. You're not wrong about that. But as far as the ordinance is concerned, as far as the statutes in California are concerned, from what I understand, and we did report on Oakland when they did their decriminalization here on Free Talk Live. From what I understand, they made the possession of mushrooms, or the possession, I think it was actually of any hallucinogenic plant, so peyote would have qualified. maybe something else, but
psilocybin
DMT,
for sure.
Psilocybin certainly, and so the idea was the possession of it would be decriminalized, not the sale of it. And most of the statutes that are out there have things in them to like cover the whole idea of this isn't a sale, it's a donation. That they've got that covered in the statutes, and that basically still counts as a sale under the government's perspective.
Well, they were never. The charge was never sales; it was always distribution. They don't have to prove you got paid to convict you of distribution. Only you passed the goods on to somebody.
Right. So whatever it was, it all ended last week when Oakland police raided the quote church unquote. This article has church in quotes for some reason. Officers made no arrests, but they did seize $200,000 in cash.
Jeez.
They seized cannabis, and they seized several strains of psychedelic mushrooms, according to Dave Hodges, one of its founders.
Mental note, future mushroom churches in Oakland and elsewhere, don't keep the cash in the same place as
the
mushrooms.
Weed and the mushrooms, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, this was a cannabis church. Zydor added mushrooms to its offerings late last summer after the Oakland City Council approved a resolution declaring that arresting adults involved with certain psychedelic plants was among the lowest priority for local law enforcement.
They thought the coast was clear, and sadly, it wasn't. And that's tragic.
The council, however, did not remove any state drug laws from the book. So it was a county law, apparently?
City,
Oakland
I believe.
City, right. Oakland City Council, right. It said so.
So they can't override the state law, but they can tell their officers, hey, don't investigate this. So I'm guessing this was state police. I don't know if you read that. Was it state police?
The article continues, but it told law enforcement to turn the other cheek to possession and use.
Right.
Cultivation and sales are another story. The council promised to get to that next.
Yeah.
In the
More than a
meantime,
year.
Police paid several visits to the church. They made undercover buys, quote unquote, in plain clothes and later returned in uniform with vows to shut the operation down. The last time was on April 21st when Officer John Romero gave Hodges clear instructions to close or risk the consequences. Sounds like a threat to me.
Well, okay, so this is really interesting.
You threatening me?
Yeah, this is really interesting that the police actually tipped their hand. They didn't just go in completely unannounced and raid this place. They came and threatened them first, which is pretty unusual as far as police tactics are concerned. It sounds to me like they almost didn't want to have to enforce on these people because they're probably worried about some form of backlash.
And it hasn't quite specified which police, whether it was city, county, state.
Well, I would be happy to lash their backs for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard you're beating a Karen, so...
Oh, good God.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
That's a little teaser for later. In the meantime, so we got to that. The church had shut down its cannabis smoking lounge following the statewide shelter-in-place order during COVID-19. You can't have a smoking lounge because of COVID.
Right, yeah, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, which has for the longest time been one of the leading organizations in favor of legalization and decriminalization of cannabis, they put out a notice after COVID saying that now the new rules, because it used to be pass to the left, right? You pass a joint, pass a pipe or whatever.
Pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side.
Now the new rules, according to NORML, are that there's no more passing weed.
This must be the new normal.
So, has the new normal affected the new normal?
I don't know. I don't hang out with those people.
The new normal has made normal into a new normal.
Yeah, I don't hang out with masked people generally, and so I wouldn't hang out with masked people that smoke weed. So I don't know.
It'd be hard to smoke weed with a mask.
I don't know. I wouldn't have a problem hanging out with somebody because they were in a mask. But
depends on the mask.
Yeah, but
like if it was a mask of like Hillary Clinton, I'd be like,
with a new normal, I'm just going to have to learn to be a new abnormal.
There was a time in my life when I read the magazine that the National Organization for the Reformation of Marijuana Laws, or NORML.
They had a magazine?
They had a print magazine, NORML, yeah.
Huh.
If you were a member, or if you
Oh, wow.
a friend of mine's parents were, very active in the, we'll just call it the activism for marijuana laws. And so I think as a result of their annual donation, they sent them a magazine. I don't know if it was monthly, but maybe it was quarterly or something like that.
Mm-hmm. KQED is reporting Oakland police shutting down. So the actual city police.
So it was Oakland. Okay. So the church had shut down its cannabis smoking because of COVID-19, but continued the exchange of mushrooms for cash throughout the spring and summer.
Really ballsy. That's awesome.
So on August 13th, Romero and about a dozen other officers returned to the church located on the ground floor of a nondescript two-story building on a block in East Oakland.
All right.
Well, more on the morons who raided the church and what happened to this mushroom church. Coming up here on Free Talk Live, 855 450 free. This is Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils, plus a hint of menthol, was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
You can join us toll-free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live, the live Monday night edition. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And we've been talking about this article from Vice about the Mushroom Church in Oakland, California, has been raided and shut down by police. But you know what hasn't been shut down? Cryptocurrency. Like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, for example. They haven't been shut down.
They can't stop those. They would, man. If they could
Can't
raid
stop the signal.
If they could raid Bitcoin, you know they'd do it.
Oh, they would in a minute.
They can't.
And Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. That's local.bitcoin.com. So anyway, or Swenyway, as I like to say. It's one word. SWENNYWAY, Swenyway. The church had shut down its cannabis smoking lounge, but continued to sell, according to this article, continued to exchange mushrooms for cash. They don't use the word sell specifically.
Mm-hmm. It won't help.
But the cops showed up. They marched in. They seized the church's stash. They called in firefighters to bust open the church's safes. According to photos and videos of the raid, Hodges posted to his Instagram page. In one video, a firefighter appears to lose control of a tool that jerks out of his hands while he's cutting into a safe and flies into the face of another.
What?
As unmasked cops watch.
See, normally I hate to see firefighters get hurt, but this one had it coming.
Wow. Instant karma.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, yeah. PPE, safety first, guys. You know, get your safety goggles on if you're trying to.
Safety first. Don't mess with your karma by, robbing a church.
Right. I guess there's nothing else going on in Oakland, said Hodges. Hodges is the, we'll call him the proprietor or the church, I don't know, the head of the church, who was also the church's minister. I'm not 100% sure what the trigger for this was, but whatever it was, it's pretty clear this was an intimidation technique. And I have to side with him here on this very specific topic because no victim, no crime.
Oh, but Captain, the victims are these people who might be finding out that there's more to life than what meets the eye, and then that could really open their minds, and then they might start thinking things that are different than what society has instructed them to think. Those are the victims.
Quick, somebody panic.
I mean, yeah, it looks like they did. So, to hear police tell the story, Hodges knew exactly what he was doing, selling weed without a California state sales license and going well beyond what the council allowed by selling mushrooms. And he had every opportunity to pack it in before the cops came knocking.
It does sound like he did have some opportunities to pack it in. Not that that makes it okay, but it does make it unusual.
But, I mean, tyrants threatening you with violence for conducting otherwise peaceful activities.
I would hope that this guy, at the very least, put some cameras up in expectation of what was going to happen.
I believe he did because he had photos that he posted to Instagram of the firefighters. Either that or he was standing there with his cell phone when it went down or something, and they didn't, toss him in a car so he couldn't or something. In the search warrant, however, Romero made no mention of mushrooms, the church's main draw. Instead, he referred to the church as an illegal marijuana dispensary activity, which is a poor wording of a sentence. The council said mushrooms should not be our priority, and they're not, said Oakland Police Captain Randall Wingate, who supervises...
We've solved every other crime. That's why we focused on this operation.
Yep. There's no more murders in Oakland.
Is now safe.
No more rapes. No more burglaries. No more home invasions. So I guess all we got left to do is
church invasion.
He said, you can use mushrooms, you can grow your own mushrooms, but selling mushrooms is still not legal.
Yep.
Captain Randall Wingate.
They still are suffering under the illusion that matters somehow.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Their opinion means less than nothing.
They get really mad when you give somebody money for a thing and they don't get a cut. That's what this is about.
Oh, yeah, extortion at the real true and heart of the matter. Strictly speaking, a mushroom club absolutely violates state law. This is the article speaking. Mm-hmm. But even before City Council's resolution regarding mushrooms, drug sales in Oakland were generally tolerated. So they're going against their own...
Well, that's an interesting claim.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that prior to the mushroom decriminalization that the police were not investigating drug dealers. I don't buy that.
This next sentence makes me question a lot of things. The city hosts, speaking of Oakland, the city hosts several underground seshes, which are pop-up open-air drug markets where just about anything is available until someone makes a fuss.
Well, okay.
So the city of Oakland...
They don't mean the city. I don't think that they mean the city government there. It is confusing, Captain, because when the term "the city" is used, it is used interchangeably by the media to mean the city government, as in the gang, and it is also used to mean anything happening within a physical geographic area known as Oakland. So I'm going to presume it's the latter meaning.
You're probably right.
What they're saying is that there's certain areas of the city where people have set up a tent or where picnic tables in the
drug
park or whatever.
Flea market,
and there's drug dealers that are buying and selling there, and unless someone calls to complain about it, then it goes unmolested, which makes sense because it's a big city. The cops aren't everywhere. And ultimately, they do respond when called in a lot of cases. We've got a cop outside of our studio right now that's been pulling people over for running through the stop sign.
Yeah, I saw her as I kind of made sure she noticed me noticing her sitting out front. She was actually next door, but
irritating. I should go out there with my whiteboard and warn people.
Just start taking selfies, right? Just get in front of the car and be like, "Hey, everybody!"
Get in front of the police car.
Yeah.
As long as they don't have anywhere to go. If they do, then that's disorderly conduct.
I mean, they can make up whatever they want, I guess.
Yes. Well, in the case of disorderly conduct, that law was created to deal with people who are blocking traffic and blocking sidewalks and things like that. So if they find you blocking those things, then you usually get charged with disorderly conduct.
To be fair, you could do it while standing on the sidewalk based on where she was parked this time. We have more about Zide Door and their raid of the Oakland police raid of the marijuana church coming up. We'll also get into your calls and your thoughts here tonight on this Monday edition of Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number is 855-450-3733. You can call in and talk about these things or anything you like. We got more coming up.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. Free Talk Live is aired on nearly 200 radio stations throughout the week, and we've been doing this for almost 18 years. You can call in any evening from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern to talk about whatever's on your mind. Sure, you can waste your time on Facebook and reach dozens of surly posters, or you can call in with your issue and reach 3 surly hosts. Oh, and nearly 500,000 weekly listeners. The number is 1-855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
If you live in Williamsburg, chances are good you've seen them. Giant piles of beard hair rotting in the streets. Don't worry, it just means hipster molting season is here again. Experts say the husks of dead beards don't pose a threat to public safety and are just part of the natural life cycle of these strange organisms.
Once a year, all at the same time, every 20-something urban male sheds his ironic beard to make room for larger, more fanciful facial hair. They need the beards. They're a tough exoskeleton that protects these young people from the non-whimsical realities of life.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says it's the largest molting season on record. In Brooklyn, sanitation crews are working overtime to clean up the loose whiskers the exuviating males have left behind. The affected youth's molting season comes right before their mating season, when the males use their lush beards to impress the local hordes of burlesque females.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Yes, it's Free Talk Live, the live Monday night edition. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, like freedom. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And let's just go ahead. We've been talking about this article from Vice about the Mushroom Church in Oakland, California, having been raided by the Oakland police, where they took all of their cash and all of their mushrooms and all of their marijuana. And we'll talk.
Cops had a good time that weekend.
Yeah, you know they did. I wonder, how much of it was actually in the safe versus how much showed up in the evidence room.
Ooh, those are always good questions.
And we'll talk more about that. But first, let's go to your calls and your thoughts. We have Daniel in Virginia calling in. Daniel, you are on Free Talk Live.
Hey guys, just wanted to say hey from Virginia. I'm listening to you on my homemade pirate radio station.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Restreaming through our community here. Just set it up. I've been listening since Ian was in Florida, so it's really cool to connect with you guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
I love pirate radio, man. Thanks for doing that.
Thanks. I wanted to talk about this, about the tax thing.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, I agree, it's theft, but I'm not exactly sure how you would approach that in the minds of most folks' minds when they're conditioned to believe a certain thing. But furthermore, I had a question, and my question is, with technology being vastly improved within the past, we'll say, 50 years, which is a very short time span in the history of America, how do you all foresee changes in our government as a result of more ability on the population of the United States to connect online and otherwise with the leaders? You think it'll have a negative consequence and develop more control, or do you think that it will hold the powers to be, if you will, a little more accountable as the skeletons come out of the closet?
I will reserve my answer until you guys answer if you want to take a stab.
The question was, again, what exactly?
How do you think technology will affect government, essentially? Is that right, Daniel?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, we've had technology and government for quite a while. I mean, at least the last 20 years, certainly the last decade or so. I mean, the Obama administration kind of made getting feedback from people a supposed priority. If you recall, in 2012, they had the little submission thing on White House, on whatever the website is, where you could submit a petition.
WhiteHouse.gov or whatever, yeah.
And then people could sign the petition, and then if it got over 100,000 signatures, then Obama would actually address the thing. And so that was where the whole Texas secession guys, they got theirs to 100,000, and Obama basically cited the Civil War as this will happen again if you try it again, basically was his answer. So, I mean, to some extent, the federal government has been surprising in its ability to actually embrace some technology. Obviously, governments suck at pretty much everything they do. But, you know, you've got Trump. He's out there tweeting every single day, multiple times per day. He's the tweetingest president thus far. And I don't know, it seems like the government's getting bigger and bigger despite all the technology. So it's either helping them or doing nothing.
Nobody?
And my thought, just to move back, sorry to interrupt, but just a thought, like, to put it in a frame of mind, like FDR had fireside chats, and it was the first time the nation heard the president on the radio, and then the mass communication boomed from there. Here's the first time that we have the ability to say, hey, you all suck directly, without having to go through the channels. And I'm really just wondering, in the future years, will that change how we operate completely, or will it be more of a hindrance? Kind of thinking like it'll be like, okay, yeah, you can do that, but we don't really see it.
I have an answer for you, but
I don't know.
Nobody take a stab.
There are technologies that have the potential to disrupt government, certainly. You know, Bitcoin, I think, is one of those technologies that I think it's the one that's probably most likely to cause government to come down with something fatal, because, you know, their big advantage besides their license to kill is their license to print money. And if you can take the value out of that proposition by giving people somewhere to hide when the government's in a money printing mood, I think that could definitely destabilize the government.
Okay, well, what you're saying, though, nobody, is that technology has allowed us to have new tools to push back or fight the government. And that's definitely true. I mean, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the internet generally, these are things that have helped the liberty movement. There's no doubt about it. But as far as technology making them more reachable, or them to care about what you want, no.
He was talking about making them care. I thought he was talking about making them go away.
Or making them notice you.
Right, and I think, so let me take a stab at this, Daniel, because I think I get the gist of what you're saying, or at least I have an answer for you. And that is to say that the folks who invented the internet and any of the technologies that spring forth from the internet are generally using the network effect to create decentralization. And what that means is that as long as innovation occurs, the innovation is going to outpace anything the government can come up with. There's a great meme that I have saved somewhere, and it's a picture of the Starship Enterprise with a rope tied to, the old wagon, the covered wagon from the Old West days, and the covered wagon is labeled government. Government is incapable of inventing quickly. All they can do is take current inventions and try to use them for, evil, because that's what governments do. So I think I'm in agreement with nobody that things like Bitcoin and the blockchain are going to spawn new technologies that allow people to become more free individually, that favor the individual, that do not favor the entities that we call government, that is, organizations that rule by only force and violence and claim monopolies on things. I believe that technology, humans will out-invent government in the next, 20 years or so.
Great. That's kind of what I was looking for there. And I really appreciate it. The reason I ask is I make biogas from food waste and was able to generate electricity now.
Yeah.
And I know it's not a complete solution, but for me, I'm thinking, our system is a system supposedly of supply and demand. And maybe we're getting to a point where people just won't really want the supply so much. And if you could kind of change people's attitudes in a way, maybe with technology and new things coming along, some of these antiquated laws and things will hopefully get removed at a quicker clip.
I agree, Daniel. Thanks for the call tonight. Good points all the way around. And I love the fact that he's been a listener for so long.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's really cool. And he's rebroadcasting on Pirate Radio. That's
a beautiful
thing. That is
Kick-Ass.
Kickass.
That started.
Kick-Ass, seal of approval. If I had some sort of sound effect here, I'd play it right now.
We definitely need more of that.
More sound effects?
Pirate Radio.
Oh, yeah. More guys like David.
Sound effects are
Pirate
cool.
Radio.
Pirate Radio, you can actually make an impact with.
Indeed. So, circling back to this article from Vice about the Mushroom Church in Oakland having been raided and shut down. In the case of Zydor, police found out because people complained about marijuana smoke, according to Wingate. The county health department brought it to our attention because it was impacting the health of people around there, quote unquote, he said. Yes, the smell of marijuana smoke impacts the health of people around here. In the general area known as
around here.
In the general area known as Oakland.
Wow. You're calling BS.
Street cops also reported that people exiting the Mushroom Church were getting robbed and that there were shootings on and around the block. I'm sure people were being shot
Oakland.
for their mushrooms. Yeah.
Yeah, that just happens in Oak.
Perhaps the cops should investigate the shootings.
Right.
Maybe they should investigate Oakland.
Yeah. 855 450 free like freedom. We've got more Free Talk Live Monday night edition coming up.
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MacTech Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
Attention radio listeners. Have you ever wanted to be independent of the utility companies and actually generate your own supply of off-grid electrical power? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear. Here's why. A limited number of solar-powered backup generators are back in stock and now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. And unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces an endless supply of free electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running silently, secretly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, even keep food from spoiling. Go to mysolarbackup.com to learn more. That's mysolarbackup.com. Supplies are still limited and are available on a first-come, first-served basis only. mysolarbackup.com.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm going to tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm going to tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, everybody, to Free Talk Live, the live call-in talk radio program that's also broadcast on the internet and satellite, where you can call and take control of the airwaves. Our toll-free number is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, like freedom. You can also get us at our Discord channel, discord.lrn.fm. With you in the studio tonight, it is myself, the captain.
Yeah, it's Ian.
And nobody.
And from mid-March to mid-July, Divvy, the new easy-to-use cryptocurrency that we've been promoting on Free Talk Live, increased in value over 10 times. Nothing is stopping Divvy from increasing exponentially again, and, in fact, that is their goal. Divvy's price jumped 10 times in correlation with the release of their beta wallet. Will Divvy go up further when their wallet is fully released? I don't know. But at Free Talk Live, we're happy with our decision to hook up with Divvy a year ago. You can go to divvyproject.org and begin earning Divvy by starting a masternode or staking Divvy. They have a lottery for people who stake the coin too, and opportunity has knocked every day here on Free Talk Live since last September. Will you answer? divvyproject.org. That's D-I-V-I project.org. So, we were speaking on this article from Vice about the mushroom church that has been raided and shut down in Oakland. And they were telling us a little bit of the details here about what went on. Hodges, who was, I believe, the proprietor, disputes the complaints about smoke and insists that if the block was violent, it was that way well before the church opened.
Yep.
It's Oakland.
None of the shootings had anything to do with us, he said.
Right. How many people have you ever been around and or you been, if you've been on mushrooms, how many times have you felt homicidal?
Zero.
How many people who've been on mushrooms have been anything but entirely peaceful? Now, that's not to say there haven't been some crazy people on mushrooms and they've done some stupid things. But generally, people tend to mellow out. They tend to, sit back. They tend to take it easy. I cannot think of a single time when I've been around somebody who's been on mushrooms who's had anything but a bad trip. And usually that just keeps them locked to where they are in some cases, although they could run wild and, maybe get naked and, run down the street or something like that.
Streaker!
But, a guy running down the street naked is probably not going to actually hurt anybody.
It's still a peaceful activity.
Yeah. I don't know. Nobody, what do you think? Have you ever known a crazed, mushroom, violent nut job?
Have you ever run down the street naked on mushrooms?
Those are two different questions.
I'd have to say no on both things.
You've been around your fair share of trippers, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm a hippie from way back. But, yeah, I went to dead shows for many years. I saw a couple people jump in fires, but I never saw anybody hurt anybody else.
Interesting. So Hodges says that they lied to a judge when they said we were an illegal dispensary when clearly we're a church. And now they're lying even more. And he's,
they're cops, so.
Yeah. The
what
raid,
you expect from them.
Yeah, I know. The raid also underscores the erratic nature of drug policy reform in the United States. City, state, and federal law often conflict. Conduct that one authority says is okay is busted by another. This is true with marijuana laws as well.
Yeah, and Californians should be used to it because they were the first to go medical marijuana back in 1996, and for years after that dealt with continual raids and harassment by various levels of California law enforcement until finally things settled down for most people out there.
And left in the middle are nonviolent drug users wondering exactly what they're allowed to do.
Right.
And opportunistic activists who can exploit the gray area. Yeah. Seriously, like, I'm not a fan of the organization known as government because of their monopoly on the use of violence. Their claimed monopoly, anyway.
My favorite that
we
I
need
heard,
to give them some competition.
And I forget who told me this. My favorite, as far as like creative activists exploiting, loopholes in the law. My favorite has to be Maine, where supposedly, and now I haven't, talked to any of these people directly, but supposedly some creative entrepreneurs, because it's illegal to sell weed, sort of like in the same circumstance here.
Right.
They will, they have professional psychic weed finders. Who you call them up and you say, hey, I lost an ounce of weed here at my house at this location.
We found
on the street. And if you could, put your psychics on that job and help me find my ounce of weed,
I'll pay you $100.
I think it was Gorilla Glue that I lost.
Nice.
And they'll say, well, that'll cost you. We can put our best psychics on the job, sir, but that's going to cost you $200. For that job, and we will send a psychic over right away. And then they send a psychic over, and what do you know? He found your ounce of Gorilla Glue.
Weeds, man. What was the what was the old?
That's beautiful.
Isn't that amazing?
What was the?
I actually considered doing the same thing with people who came and confessed that they couldn't find a girl. Once if and when we have temple prostitutes.
Do you guys remember the psychic hotline?
Which one?
The 900 with the old, the fake Jamaican accented lady?
Oh, Miss Cleo.
Miss Cleo. Yeah, she could work for the...
I think she died.
Aw.
Yeah.
Dionne Warwick's psychic network went bankrupt.
Surprise.
You'd think they would have seen that coming.
Yeah.
Died in 2016, Miss Cleo.
I'd like to make fun of her. That's too bad. So anyway, left in the middle are, well, everybody really. And this is just a further illustration of how ridiculous all these different levels of government are, because each one can contradict the other at every freaking level, right? And this is where, what's the book called? It's called 3 Felonies a Day, right? That's the book that talks about how the average citizen or person who lives in the United States is actually committing, on average, 3 felonies a day, unbeknownst to them, because of contradictions in laws.
Mm-hmm, sure.
So it's ridiculous, and it all just needs to end quickly. So far, only 2 other cities have passed measures attempting to ease mushroom bans. Denver, which was the first, and Santa Cruz, California, a university and a surfer town about 2 hours south of Oakland. This fall, voters in Oregon could be the first to legalize mushrooms outright at the state level.
Which would be amazing if that happens. Are they legalizing them in
That's
Oregon?
what it says. There's a link here. We can check it out in a minute.
I'll pull it up.
This change in mindset follows growing scientific evidence suggesting that mushrooms can treat mental health issues. I mean, the evidence has been around for a long time. It's just that it's finally becoming sort of recognized by the medical industry, if you will. Still, they're nowhere near as popular as cannabis, and it took many years and many raids before legal marijuana stores started paying cops salaries with taxes, and law-abiding adults started carrying vape pens to work. The oldest religion on the planet. As a functional mushroom club, Zydor was following the model established by the many underground weed clubs that proliferated in Oakland in the 2000s and early 2010s. The organization served as a reliable avenue for access, a problem that follows any decriminalization. But Hodges, 38, I don't know why they wanted to publish his age, insists
that's the thing they do.
His organization isn't a mushroom dispensary, but rather it's a church. The setup as a religious entity is an attempt at the religious defense argument that's been used with mixed success.
They're going to give him a chance now, which is, I hope that he doesn't take a guilty plea on this.
Right. Absolutely. Take it to court and, defend yourself as a church.
That may be one of the reasons why they were so cautious with this raid, where they went in.
They gave him so many strikes and they revealed themselves and all that.
Yeah, they tried to intimidate him into stopping, and they didn't. That may be because they actually don't want to go to trial on this.
And it may well be that he didn't stop because he intended to go to trial. It's definitely a possibility.
He was like, no, F you. I'm within my rights. This is a church.
Hopefully he already saw, or he already had the attorney on retainer.
The idea here is that freedom of religion should pertain to any religion. Any religion. You can invent a religion. And then all of the things surrounding freedom of religion pertain to your religion. And I'll give you an example: Scientology. The newest mainstream, we'll call it mainstream religion, the newest large religion in my lifetime that I'm aware of, right, was created out of thin air by old Mother Hubbard. I mean, L. Ron Hubbard, who sat in a cupboard.
Due to a bet, I'm told, with Robert Heinlein, actually. He said he could start a religion and make people believe it.
Well, and believe it they did, because that is, it's certainly one of the newest. But like all of the same, sort of the laws for and against religion, anywhere at any level, also pertain to that. We've got more Free Talk Live coming up.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A 1-2 punch. I'm Tom Graham, Fox News. 2 tropical systems taking aim at Louisiana. One, Marco, is falling apart, according to forecasters Governor John Bell Edwards.
The impacts to Louisiana from Marco will not be as significant as was originally forecasted. And that is a good thing.
Well, but right behind it, Tropical Storm Laura, which forecasters say could hit the state as a Category 3 hurricane, winds topping 110 miles per hour and a storm surge that could envelop entire towns. Well, weather improving in the San Francisco Bay Area as firefighters continue to battle 3 giant blazes in that area and hundreds around the state.
The state is experiencing its second and third largest wildfires in state history, each either at or nearly at 350,000 acres, one in the Napa-Sonoma area, the other east of San Jose. Most, if not all, sparked by thousands of lightning strikes.
Sadly, we've lost 7 lives so far to these latest fires and over 1,200 reported structures.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom said now 14,000 firefighters are on the line as opposed to 12,000 last week. Crews have been coming in from several states to help out, and the weather has been a bit better in many spots with less wind and higher humidities. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Well, shifting to politics, Republican National Convention kicking off about 90 minutes from now, but the festivities began this morning with President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence being renominated.
Our party is unified. Our supporters are energized, and now we will go forward confident in our cause of re-electing President Trump and Vice President Pence in 70 days from now.
That's RNC President Ronna McDaniel there. The president set to accept the renomination Thursday night. America's listening to Fox News.
Who knew that the same company that made the twist ties around your loaf of bread also made the face shield delivered to your front door? Packaging solutions provider Bedford Industries stepped up in a big way during the pandemic with help from NetSuite, the world's #1 cloud business system. Here's Bedford's president, Jay Milbrandt.
At Bedford, we saw an opportunity to retool our products to create face shields. Thanks to the visibility and control NetSuite provides, we had the agility to change our business overnight. In no time, NetSuite helped us launch our first e-commerce site and handled crucial details from licensing to order tracking. Now we're taking orders from around the world 24/7. We couldn't have done it without NetSuite.
NetSuite by Oracle gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. They surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of top strategies they're using as America reopens for business. Receive your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
German doctors reaching a conclusion on what happened to a critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin, that critic being treated in Germany.
Doctors in Germany saying tests suggest Alexei Navalny was poisoned. The Russian opposition leader and a leading critic of President Putin is being treated in Berlin after falling sick in Russia last week. Doctors saying they found cholinesterase inhibitors in his system, substances found in drugs, but also pesticides and nerve agents. The hospital saying Navalny remains in an induced coma, but that his life is not in immediate danger. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
A little closer to home, election officials in Detroit asking the state to investigate miscounted absentee ballots in this month's primary election.
Every vote counts, or at least they're supposed to. Though in Detroit, 72% of the city's voting precincts had absentee ballot tallies recorded by election workers that didn't match the actual ballot count in the state's August primary.
If I'm just Joe voter, I would be pissed. I mean, to me, this is just incompetence.
William Hartman is a member of the Wayne County Board of Canvassers. The situation could amplify ahead of the presidential election. President Trump has also raised concerns over the lack of oversight on mail-in votes, including in Paterson, New Jersey, where a judge recently ordered a revote and where 4 people are also charged with vote fraud. Jeff Matasso, Fox News.
And here's the scandal. Jerry Falwell Jr., who's currently on leave as the leader of the Evangelical Liberty University, has agreed to resign. That, according to an official from the school, this coming after he wrote in a statement published in the Washington Examiner, claiming his wife had an affair and the man she had an affair with was trying to blackmail them. Well, Falwell had been on leave from the school, which his father founded, after a picture surfaced of him with his pants unzipped around a woman who was not his wife. He claimed the picture was at a costume party. I'm Tom Graham, and this is Fox News.
The Princeton Medical Institute has found that the most common deathbed regret, more than losing contact with family or spending too much time at the office, is never having sprayed a fire extinguisher all over the place.
Similar themes emerged in our interviews with dying patients. Some wished that they'd taken more risks. Others wished that they'd lived a life truer to their dreams. But almost every single person surveyed, regardless of their age or circumstance, said that their most significant regret was never having grabbed a fire extinguisher off a wall and blasted it around a room until it ran out of foam.
I've lived a good life. I was a nurse for 32 years. I have 3 beautiful children, but I've never smashed my elbow into a glass case, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and gone whoosh over everything.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live returns. It's your favorite live call-in talk radio program where you can call in, take control of the airwaves, and talk about anything you'd like. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. With you in the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And we were talking about this raid on the Mushroom Church, but this just in. A recent poll shows, well, what does it show, Ian?
Well, the only poll, actually, so far in New Hampshire in this election season to include nobody as an option. This has yet to occur. None of the mainstream polling organizations have bothered to ask any questions whatsoever about the Republican gubernatorial primary. For listeners that are new to the show, you may not know that our co-host Nobody is running for governor here in New Hampshire, and he is in what is a 3-way race for the gubernatorial primary.
Nothing like a 3-way.
Nobody's in a 3-way.
Yep, and the participants in this race are incumbent Chris Sununu, the current Tyrant King, who is in office and has lorded over the COVID crackdown that has been going on here.
What does he call himself? His Excellency?
His Excellency.
Bastard, I hate that.
He is going up against our very own Nobody and also a woman named Karen. Karen Testerman. Now, we met Karen actually at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. We did an interview with her. She seems like, pretty good on economics, not so good on personal freedom as you would expect from somebody on the right. And then, of course, Nobody, is great on both of those things, both economic and personal freedom. And we don't, when you're doing a phone poll, and not to say that I'm an expert at these things, but I just thought, well, if I'm going to participate in a poll, I want it to be short. So I conducted a poll that was only 3 questions long. And sure enough, even after the first question, it shows you how many people responded to the first question, how many people responded to the second and the third, and so on. So the more questions you ask, the lower the response rate, right? So the second and third questions don't have as many responses as the first question. So the first question that I asked was the most important one, which is, and I'll get you the exact verbiage, because I wanted to make sure this was a fair poll, that it wasn't a clearly nobody promotional kind of message.
Right.
So the poll opens with, and I was the one who voiced
a scientific poll.
At least I think so.
Yeah.
It was the numbers that we dialed. We called 50,000 numbers. 25,000 of them are registered Republicans, and 25,000 of them are what they call in New Hampshire undeclared.
Okay.
So these are the people who are not registered as either a Republican or Democrat. So 25,000 of each. And so the actual question: you've been selected to take a quick 3-question poll sponsored by freekeene.com about the election for New Hampshire governor. Please listen to all the options before selecting your response. In the Republican primary for New Hampshire governor, there are 3 candidates. Which would you want to have as your governor? Press 1 for Karen Testerman, press 2 for Chris Sununu, or press 3 for nobody.
3.
And to that poll, the polls, it has completed. We actually conducted this tonight, starting at about an hour before the show started. Of the undeclared, this is the real success story here. Of the undeclared votes, actually, I didn't have them pulled. Oh wait, no, I do have them. Undeclared. So total responses out of 24,000 phone calls made, only 525 responded. But that's still around 500 is what you expect on sort of the minimum.
It's more than half.
Yep.
No, that's a fraction of 24,000. We have.
I'm sorry. You said 24,000.
Right.
Yeah, we had 24,000 numbers,
but 500 answered.
More than 24,400 and some. Of those, well, more than 500 answered. We had about 4,600 of them answer, so about 20%, 19% answered.
Okay.
And of those, 525 of them answered the first question.
So 20% of the answered.
Yeah,
okay,
I would say.
That's cool.
No, not even quite 20% of the answered. Maybe a little bit more than 10%, maybe about 11%.
For something like a telephone campaign, those are good numbers.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I was hoping for at least 500, and we got 525 in that case. So when you go and you look at the other polls that have been done, 500 is the lowest of all of them. So if you've got 500 responses, you've got a pretty good scientific phone poll. Of those responses, 132 of the 525 voted for nobody, which is over 25% of respondents. Now, this was the undeclared voters in New Hampshire, people who are not either Republican or Democrat, who could vote either way. These are the people that you need to convince if you want to win an election.
Right.
And 25% are voting for you, nobody.
I like that number.
Now, to be fair, that doesn't mean they're all going to vote for you.
We're not supposed to be fair. This is politics.
That just means that if in the event that they do actually vote in the Republican primary, because in New Hampshire, the undeclared voter can walk into the voting booth and declare themselves as either a Republican or a Democrat for just the purpose of voting. So if they feel more inspired by the Democratic candidates, they can go and vote on that ticket instead of voting on the Republican.
They can't be undeclared and still vote?
They have to pick one of the
not in
two.
The primary.
Yeah, in the primary. They have to pick one of the two. And then they can undeclare themselves on the way out the door, basically.
It's still dumb, but okay.
So it gives them more flexibility than somebody who's registered as either a Republican or a Democrat. So maybe these people will actually turn out and vote for nobody at the primary. The point of the poll was to give them the date of the primary in case they didn't know about it, and to introduce them to our man Nobody. In fact, that was what the other questions were about. The follow-up questions 2 and 3 asked, prior to this poll, were you aware that Karen Testerman would be a choice on the Republican primary ballot? And then they asked the same question about, were you aware that nobody was going to be on the ballot? Because I was curious, how many of the people that were answering this poll had ever even heard of your campaign? And according to the results, the undeclared voters, the supermajority of them had not heard of you, so about 318 out of 441. And Karen also had a similar response. So
you got to get out on the streets and shake some hands, kiss some babies.
Harder to do now than ever.
Probably don't kiss the babies.
You get shot kissing babies with the Rona around, or
at
least the Rona fear.
Yeah.
So it didn't do as well with the Republicans. So again, there was 2 lists. There was 25,000 names who were undeclared and 25,000 Republicans. Of the 25,000 Republican calls that we made, only 694. So it's actually a greater number of them participated in the survey. It was 525, so 694 participated. Chris Sununu dominated that poll with 596 out of the 694.
As tyrants will.
And nobody got 58 out of that. So that's about 8.3, 8.4%. Choosing nobody. These are registered Republicans. But interestingly, and this is the most interesting part about the Republican version of this poll, is you beat Karen.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw your eyes. His eyes went, whoa, it got real big when I said that, because and that's the reason that's a surprise, is because Karen has a campaign of like a bunch of volunteers.
Yeah.
She's got money that there's. I saw a big Karen sign on the side of Route 9. So when we were at the Mask Freedom event that happened last Saturday, she had at least 3, if not 4, like campaign people with her wearing like embossed T-shirts with her name on it, right? So like, there's some money behind this particular
handed out
campaign.
flyers and stuff like that.
And you heard my question. It's a fair question, right? Like, we didn't tilt that question towards nobody in any way, shape, or form. And Karen only got 40 votes compared to your 58 votes. Nobody. So she didn't do near
So we
as
need
well.
to make a new meme where nobody is actually beating a Karen-looking person.
Yeah, nobody beat Karen in both of these surveys.
We could make her a dead horse.
I didn't tell you.
Kicking it?
I didn't tell you how badly she did in the undeclared poll, but I mean, she only got 24 votes compared to your 132, so a fraction of.
I'm assuming you didn't poll any Democrats because they're useless?
We did not. Yeah, they can't vote in the Republican primary, so they weren't worth talking to.
Okay.
So,
although if we did it earlier, then next time around, if we did it earlier, we might be able to convince
it's because this
them
particular
into unregistering long enough to vote.
Because this particular phase of the game of statism is partisan, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So if a poll is anything to be believed, nobody's got a serious chance to get some votes from the undeclared side of things. Now, then again, it could have just been that they were voting for nobody and not nobody, our man.
I mean,
but either way, that's the point of the protest vote.
Are they not one and the same?
Indeed.
Does nobody not represent the proverbial nobody? I say that he does.
I think he does. 25%.
We've got more coming up. 8:55, 450 free. This is Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils, plus a hint of menthol, was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world.
So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
How many tough guys does it take to change a light bulb? None, because tough guys aren't afraid of the dark. Yes, this is Free Talk Live. It's the comedy hour. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Monday night edition.
That's not allowed in New York.
Don't quit your day job.
That's right. Comedy is not allowed. That's like the old bit from Basketball, where they're doing the intro and they're like,
I can't say I've ever seen it.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
They talk about the sports teams moving from, city to city, state to state, and they go, and the Jazz moved from New Orleans to Utah where they don't allow music.
It probably was a time where Utah didn't allow music. It's funny because it's true.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733 is our toll-free number. If you would like to give us a call, talk about anything you'd like to talk about. That's what we do here at Free Talk Live. We take calls. We've been talking about all sorts of fun things. Have we wrapped up the poll?
Yeah, I gave you the basics.
Okay.
Nobody got about 25% in a scientific opinion poll about voting for governor here in the Republican primary, 25% of undeclareds, and just under 8.5% of registered Republicans would vote for nobody.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
With near to no campaigning, mind you. With near to no campaign appearances. I mean, you've given one speech so far, nobody, I think, at the Keene the Keene Mask Freedom event. Has there been any other campaign appearances that you've made?
I mean, I've done things for the campaign, but there have been no major appearances. There's been no place to go with the fake pandemic.
Right. So, I mean, there's been, and the news.
They must have been really scared of me to bring up this whole pandemic to stop me, though.
And the news media has basically ignored your campaign thus far. There was one article that a North Country newspaper published within the last week that we happened to find with a Google search, but there hasn't been any major coverage. It hasn't splashed in the way that I had hoped that it would, because it's got viral potential all over it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody runs for governor. And what I'm hoping here is that we can take these poll results and parlay that into some media attention. So I will be sending out a press release here, hopefully tonight.
Let's hope it takes off. We were previously talking about a mushroom church in Oakland that got raided, and that led us into a bit about how psilocybin measure has been approved for Oregon's November ballot to potentially legalize mushrooms statewide. And there's just a little bit from the article linked within the article, a meta link, if you will. It says the psilocybin initiative will appear on the ballot with a separate measure that would decriminalize all drug use, including psilocybin, and boost funding for treatment programs. Tom Eckert said in a 2019 interview with OPB, that's the Oregon Press Bureau, I believe.
Public broadcaster.
Yeah, perhaps. They decided not to move toward full legalization of psilocybin. It doesn't parallel cannabis, he said. There will be no dispensaries. Nobody is buying this and taking it home with them.
Sadly, they appear to be doing only therapy-style legalization, where, according to...
I didn't realize nobody traveled to Oregon that regularly.
Nobody would do a lot for some mushrooms.
It's true.
It says nobody is buying them and taking it home with them.
The ballot measure does not place restrictions on the use of the does place restrictions on the use of the drug. It would set up licensing requirements for psilocybin therapy providers and psilocybin farmers. It also restricts use to licensed therapy centers. So you have to be in a therapist's office in order to use psilocybin legally if this ballot measure.
Right. And just remember,
pass.
everybody in listener land, that if you take your friendly neighborhood space, therapist becomes the rapist.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. And it requires patients to go through, quote, a 3-step therapy process before the treatment. So this is basically going to funnel business into whoever these therapy providers are, because they're going to have to go through a 3-step process before they're even able to take the mushrooms in a therapeutic setting. So this does absolutely nothing for the recreational use of mushrooms.
And it doesn't do much for the therapeutic use of them, because frankly, what you need is not a psychologist who's been saying that stuff is bad for you for 30 years.
Well, presumably they wouldn't take this up.
You need what you need is a shaman who's been doing it for 30 years.
Well, we don't know what the requirements are going to be as far as these licensed therapy centers, but that does give you some idea of what they're trying to do here. They're trying to bring this in as a medical psilocybin sort of thing, sort of like how they did with cannabis in the beginning. It was medical only in most places, and then legalization came later after people realized that, oh wow, this is actually helping people.
I noticed nothing is mentioned about people in jail for any of this stuff being let out.
No, that won't be happening, sadly.
I just want to make that clear that whenever the government does legalize a thing that was previously illegal, that they rarely, if ever, I've never seen it address the folks who are in jail for that thing.
Actually,
psychotics don't like to admit that they were wrong.
True, but that said, they actually have done that in a lot of places, Captain. There have been people who have had their sentences not suspended, but essentially wiped out after the fact, or allowed to be annulled.
Yeah, but not across the board.
No,
they take a small percentage of it so that they look good in the press and ignore everybody else who's still in jail for carrying around what is the equivalent of vegetation in their frickin' pocket.
Right, and they're not, even if they are going to pardon the people who have had convictions for possession, they're still not pardoning the dealers. And so it's still an atrocious drug war that's still going on.
In some ways, I want to say that I'm glad that the focus would be on treatment for all drug use, not necessarily psilocybin, but for other drugs. Heroin, for example, treatment has shown to be pretty effective for heroin addicts, and even the use of some psychotic drugs has helped folks kick their addictions.
You were looking for
psychotic drugs. I was thinking about the people in this state and they're psychotic. So
yes, the drug war is psychotic.
I misspoke.
To put peaceful people behind bars for putting something in their own body is absolutely psychotic.
Yeah, and if you look at the war on drugs and how the prison population has increased, I'm thinking of the lyric from System of a Down. Right? All research in successful drug policy shows that treatment should be increased, law enforcement decreased, while abolishing mandatory minimum sentences. And if back when they put that record out, that is precisely what the research, if you tried to do your own research on that, they were absolutely spot on with that particular lyric. So, but yeah, again, folks still in jail for nonviolent crimes, for things that have currently become legal, but were previously illegal. So they need to address that. Lickety-split. Perhaps somebody like, well, nobody could get into a position of power and go ahead and let everybody out of jail who's committed a nonviolent crime.
If nobody gets elected, he'll pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history.
That's almost worthy of getting votes. 855
Almost?
453.
What do you want from me?
We got more coming up. Free Talk Live.
Moose is the German Shepherd, now 11, and he's been an amazing dog. Moose is so active and so alert and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has a beautiful coat, and at 11, he'll still run and chase the ball. He has been on Dynavite since he's a puppy.
Dynavite for life.
Because if they're getting all their vitamins, micronutrients, microbials from the beginning, then you're not going to run into the problems associated with the grass, pollen, dust, dirt, fleas, ticks, you name it, and the itching and shedding down the road.
DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dynavite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite from DINOVITE.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. Just visit AnyPayInc.com and set up your account by entering your cryptocurrency wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes crypto like Bitcoin thanks to AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
If you're David, a few well-chosen words can help level the playing field with Goliath. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. Recently, I saw a Yellow Pages ad for an appliance repair company, and the headline read, "Why wait for Sears?" If you're going to the Yellow Pages, the Dead Sea Scrolls of advertising, you're ready to buy right now. So this is an attention-grabbing message. And how about the plumber whose radio ad says, "Call by noon Thursday, and we'll be there Saturday at no extra cost"? Smart guy. Most plumbing firms give their crew the weekend off. This one gives them Sunday and Monday off. In the words of a respected advertising executive, cut to the chase, make it quick, and tell me exactly what you can do for me, especially if you're looking for work. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Free Talk Live, the Monday night edition. We are the live call-in talk radio program where you can talk about, well, anything you'd like. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom, which is the perspective we generally take here on the program. With you in the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And I think we pretty much burnt through the Oregon thing about mushrooms. It is, I don't know, like, I think instead of passing new legislation, they should just go ahead and remove the existing legislation and let people just deal in it freely and, you know, conduct themselves how they want with no oversight and no taxation.
Unfortunately, Captain, we're going to need people to run for office with that particular platform in order for that to happen. And sadly, despite all the supposedly liberty-friendly reps that we have here, there's been very little in the way of principled proposals like that. So a lot of these guys get real political when they start running for office. And, you know, as much as I like them on a personal basis, they won't propose anything like what you're saying because it's too, the term they use is they don't have the, quote, political capital for it, which is the excuse that they use to say that they don't have enough, you know, influence or whatever. That
they're not owed enough favors yet.
Well,
yeah.
if it's, I mean, basically, if you ask for too much, then yes, voters will turn against you in some cases. I don't know if that's too much, but they seem to think it is.
Indeed. So let's segue. I know, Ian, you're a bit of a gamer, right?
Just a bit, not much though. I barely have time for these things.
Right, but
I like them,
you had something about the makers of Fortnite apparently are getting into a bit of a legal squabble with some of the online stores.
And Epic Games is not a small company by any means. But then again, Apple and Google are probably a lot bigger, and they are going up against both Apple and Google. So this is relevant to more than just gaming, because there's a lot of apps that charge you for various different features, right? So, you know, whatever the app is, there's usually like a pro mode where you can, if it's a free app, you can pay to get an upgraded tier and get whatever benefits the app conveys upon you for that. Apparently, and this I didn't know, but apparently there's a 30% tax that Google and Apple, or fee, whatever you want to call it, that Google and Apple both charge that Epic's not very happy about. And
so I just, for the sake of our listeners and because we were talking about it during the break, so somebody downloads the app for free. Within the app, there's a way to purchase things.
Yeah, and video games, it's like stupid crap for your character or whatever.
Right, you buy a sword or whatever, right, that kind of thing. And so if you do purchase a thing through the app, however much you've spent, either Google or Apple takes
30%.
30%.
Yeah.
That seems steep.
I would say so, and I'm surprised one's not cheaper than the other, you know, like I'm surprised Google didn't price theirs at 25% just to try to encourage more people to list on theirs. But the story from CNET.com's Daniel Van Boom, would you rather fight 99 small opponents or 2 really, really big ones? On Thursday, Fortnite publisher Epic Games became embroiled with a spat with both Apple and Google over the fees the tech behemoths charge developers.
So Epic Games is literally taking on the 2 big bosses.
It's true. Long story short, Fortnite has been kicked off of both the App Store and the Google Play Store after attempting to bypass the 30% fee that Apple and Google charged their developers.
Why do Google and Apple have a monopoly on where you can download apps?
Well, it's technically not a monopoly. I think it would be a duopoly.
Okay, why do they have why isn't there 17 places or 54 places where you can download apps?
That's a great question.
Because that's not how they set up Android and iOS to behave. They control the operating system.
Yeah, so now with Android, it's a little more open than the Apple iOS system. Sure. So if you wanted to, you could go and find the app in question and just download it from anywhere else. And then what'll happen is if you try to install it with an Android phone, it's called an APK file. And so if you get one of these,
that's the developer kit, right?
I'm sure that the developer kit makes the APK
no,
files.
I'm thinking the SD kit, right? Yes,
yeah, you're thinking SDK. The APK is, and I don't even know what it stands for. I imagine Android something. But anyway, you get one of these files. You can install it directly to your phone, so you don't have to go through the Play Store to do that. However, it will throw up a warning to you like, "Well, this is not from the Play Store. This could be a virus. You don't want to install this." So it's scary for the average user. Right. The average user probably won't do that. But to Google's credit, at the very least, you can do that. Google, of course, also is based on, I think Android is based on Linux. And so I don't know. I think it's open source to some extent because there's been all these alternative versions of Android that are available out there.
Right. It is open source. People just hesitate to hack on their phones, I think.
Yeah, but regardless, any old Android phone, as long as you can get the APK file for the app, you can install it.
Okay.
So all you just have to do is just bypass the initial little security warning. Apple, on the other hand, no. You, as I understand it, unless you have what's called a jailbroken iPhone,
right,
you cannot install some other thing outside of the Apple App Store. So those phones are totally locked down. People who are Fortnite players or whatever other games it is that Epic Games provides to people are no longer going to be able to play any of those games on their Apple devices as a result of
let's hear more about that in just a bit. But first, let's talk to John Oakes, calling in from, is this Illinois or is it Florida? I can't tell. John, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
What's on your mind, John?
Hey, John, how you doing?
Before we get into something, I want to say something. Is that fine?
Yeah, you're on the radio.
You can say something before you say something.
All right. Okay. Fuck shit ass bitch.
Oh, good God.
Knew that one was coming.
I was prepped for that one this time.
Yep. If you sound like you're under 30, that's probably what you're going to do.
Especially if you're not too bright.
Oh, and this one obviously was not. So, at any rate, back to Google, Apple, and Epic Games.
Yeah, so they kicked them off because what happened was Epic Games said, we're tired of this 30% fee, and we're just going to go ahead and put our own payment processor in there and allow users to make that choice.
I mean, I give them credit and recognize their cojones for doing it without permission.
By the way, this particular game, Fortnite, incredibly popular. It has been downloaded over 250 million times on iOS alone, so not even including the Android downloads. 250 million downloads for this app. That is now gone from the App Store. Epic filed lawsuits against both Google and Apple. It's not seeking money, but just a repeal of what Epic considers the company's monopolistic practices. And it comes at a time when both Europe and the U.S. are scrutinizing the power of Apple, Google, and other tech giants. Now, Fortnite is a free-to-play game, which means it's free to download, and Epic makes money from the in-game purchases, where players can buy what they call V-Bucks, which are in-game currency used to buy new outfits, weapons, and skins. It's a hugely profitable business model. Fortnite generated $4.2 billion over 2018 and 2019. Think about that.
Dang.
$4.2 billion. That's more than any Hollywood blockbuster film made in either of those 2 years. You take your favorite Marvel, universe movie or whatever.
Or all of them.
You might, probably it's going to be more than $4 billion if you'd put all of them together. But this is just one game that people didn't have to pay to download, yet it generated over $4 billion in revenue for Epic Games. But Epic has never approved of the 30% cut taken by Apple and Google on the respective app stores, so they set up a direct payment system allowing players to buy V-Bucks for cheaper through Epic, circumventing Apple and Google. So when buying 1,000 V-Bucks, they were either able to choose paying $9.99 via the App Store or $7.99 through Epic's method. So Apple and Google were not happy about that. But is it a monopoly? That's what we need to talk about.
Is it a monopoly? We'll talk about that. 855-450 free if you want to chime in. This is Free Talk Live.
Attention radio listeners. Have you ever wanted to be independent of the utility companies and actually generate your own supply of off-grid electrical power? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear. Here's why. A limited number of solar-powered backup generators are back in stock and now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. And unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces an endless supply of free electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running silently, secretly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, even keep food from spoiling. Go to mysolarbackup.com to learn more. That's mysolarbackup.com. Supplies are still limited and are available on a first-come, first-served basis only. mysolarbackup.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is what petty bureaucrats do. They protect their turf. And if you can tell me the operable difference between governments, city, state, federal, whatever they might be, and the most successful gang in a given area, I'd love to hear the difference. I just don't know what the difference is. Yes, government has a funny way of appointing its dons.
Elections.
But that's really it. That's all I can come up with. It's a gang that's figured out, hey, if we let people participate, if they have a vote, that is statistically an insignificant fact that they have a vote, but we let them have one, then they'll feel like they're part of us, and then they can do whatever they want. They cannot pave a road for 43 years and then have everybody claim that without the government we wouldn't be able to pave roads.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Okay, welcome back to the show, everybody. It is Free Talk Live, the Monday night edition. I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass, and joining me in the studio tonight, it's
Ian.
And nobody.
Glad to have you guys here, by the way. Our toll-free number, if you would like to join the fun, is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. You can also try us over at discord.lrn.fm. And I wanted to tell you about Intercoin. Just as the internet is a global network that connects local networks, Intercoin is a global currency platform that enables communities around the world to issue and manage their own currency to circulate amongst their local population. Intercoin enables fintech innovation on the local community level, leading to stronger communities, greater sustainability, less poverty, and more productivity. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space. We think that's important here on Free Talk Live, so important that Free Talk Live accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Inc. in exchange for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in this project and potentially make big gains, or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. That is intercoin.org. So we've been talking about this spat, apparently, between Epic Games and the Google Play Store and the Apple Store.
That's right. The two mega tech companies out there. I think Apple's now the #1 most highly valued company on the planet. I think I've seen headlines about that recently. And so Epic's going up against them in court. Basically, Epic wisely got around the App Store charges. Apparently, I didn't know this, but Apple App Store and Google Play Store charge a 30% fee to any in-app purchases that are done through their App Store system. So, like, when you say, I want to pay with Google Pay or with Apple Pay or whatever, they're jacking 30% out of that.
So when you say earlier, you talked about the figure of more than $4 billion?
That's what Epic Games has brought in 2 years since on the Fortnite game alone.
Okay, so
$4
just
billion.
on the Fortnite game, was all of that income, is 33% of it now to
30%
Google and
of
Apple?
it, yeah. So,
30%. Okay,
yeah,
so 30%.
Over $1 billion has gone to Apple and Google out of that.
For nothing.
Well, for providing the App Store.
Okay, but I mean, like,
the service of the App Store is to allow people to connect with your app. I mean, to some extent, it's not wrong for them to charge a fee, right?
Okay,
it's their platform. If they want to charge you a fee to put your product there, then they have the absolute right to do that.
It just seems really steep.
Well, it absolutely is steep, and that's why I say I was surprised that there isn't even a difference between the two.
And what they don't have a right to do is hold copyrights and patents. You don't have a right to stop somebody else from doing something because you thought of it first.
Well, but what you do have a right to do is you can build your own walled garden. So even in the absence...
They didn't build their own walled garden. They used the government.
Okay, I see what you're saying. However, even in the absence of the government, you can still build your own walled garden. You can still pour a bunch of money into your company and come up with a platform that excludes other people from that platform. And if you can make people want to be there, then you've got something, and people will pay to be there.
And if you weren't sucking off the government tit, I wouldn't say it's unethical. But they are sucking off the government tit, so I will say it's unethical.
Call me a dreamer, but I really would love to see...
But you're not the only one.
I'm not the only one, but I really would love to see the absence of government.
Yeah, me too. Unfortunately, we're not likely going to wake up tomorrow and have it be gone. On the other hand, nobody... And look, I'm not a huge fan of either Apple or Google, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here to some extent. Some of these companies fight against the government at the same time that they are supposedly, mooching off its teat. So on one hand, they may take some sort of government benefit, like by using the patent system or the trademarking system. On the other hand, they may stand up against the FBI and say, no, we're not going to turn over an encryption key to you. So, I mean, you would cheer them on when they would do those things, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't... I don't necessarily trust them, and in that I think they may well just turn over the keys and then fight it in court to look good.
You may be right about that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't trust any of them as far as I throw them.
Look,
as far as I can throw them.
I totally am with you as far as being critical of these companies, but in the absence of patents, in the absence of copyrights, in the absence of trademarks and all this stuff, this intellectual property, you still may only have a couple of options as far as phone providers. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But ultimately, software is something that there's not a whole lot of government regulations surrounding it. I mean, if you want to put some software...
Copyright is huge.
copyright is huge, no doubt. But if you want to write some software, then basically no one can stop you from doing that. So you can go ahead and make some software. That's no problem. There's no, thankfully, at this time in our lives, there's no government bureaucracy of software that has to approve all software releases.
Again, let's not give them any ideas.
I understand. Thank goodness they haven't thought about this.
They've thought about it. They just haven't figured out how to justify it.
Maybe, but regardless, it doesn't exist. So, in theory, if you had a few $1 billion to spare, and certainly Epic does, with considering they got 4 billion of them just on Fortnite games alone, Epic could make its own phone if they wanted to, I suppose, but that's a heck of a lot more of a task than just programming a video game where people can shoot at everything that moves. So, I mean, you're talking about a pretty big platform here that these companies have created, and there's no reason why they couldn't be just as exclusive in a true free market environment. Now, what would be more likely is they would have a better chance at having more competitors, I think, in a free market environment, which would probably lead to more open platforms, lower fees, and things like that.
Right.
Well, also, when you're in a copyright and patent-dominated industry, it's always the guy with the best lawyers who wins, not the guy with the best technology.
Scientific fact.
Yeah, well, and this case is going to be interesting. Who is going to come out on top? Essentially, Epic is arguing that Apple and Google are engaging in, unfair monopolistic processes, and Epic is suing. They filed in suit against Apple in North Carolina, or not North Carolina, the North District of California, accusing Apple of anti-competitive practices for app distribution and app-related payments. It stresses it's not looking for compensation or special treatment from Apple, but for Apple to roll back its anti-competitive practices and allow for, quote, fair competition, unquote. To reach iOS users, reads Epic's filing, Apple forces developers to agree to Apple's unlawful terms contained in its developer agreement and to comply with their App Store review guidelines, including the requirement that iOS developers distribute their apps through the App Store. These contractual provisions unlawfully foreclose the iOS distribution market to competitors to maintain Apple's monopoly. So, I get why a lot of people are going to get behind Epic Games on this one, but I don't know if it's right to call them a monopoly over a platform they created.
And the government granted them a monopoly on it, which is exactly what a copyright is, and it's exactly what a patent is. If you look in the Constitution, the word used in the Constitution is monopoly.
So when copyright is mentioned,
yes. Let me get you the exact text there.
Okay, because I'm no fan of intellectual property at all, and I say that having been a musician who put out CDs and MP3s and all that kind of a thing. Nor am I a fan of copyright in general, because I don't feel like information should be held back from anybody.
Information wants to be free.
Right.
Okay, but they can't. Look, I'm not a copyright lawyer, and none of us are. But I don't think that they can. I don't think Apple can copyright the idea of being able to install a program on an operating system. I mean, otherwise they'd be able to sue Google for having the Google Play Store.
Well, Apple was not the first computer manufacturer to load a program up on their
well, right, but you accuse them of creating a monopoly with government approval here, and I'm saying no, I don't think this counts as a monopoly at all.
How is it that I have to go through the Google Play Store or the Apple Store to download an app on my phone, but on my desktop computer, I just go to the website of whoever's
because you're not
using
using
the thing.
Android on your desktop.
Because you're not using what?
Because you're not using Android as your operating system on the desktop.
Let's say for my day job I'm using Windows. There's not a Windows store where I got to download everything from. They don't funnel everybody into the Windows store.
Thank goodness they don't. But they are. I believe they do actually now have some sort of Windows app thingy with Windows 10.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, you still have to be able to install other things.
855 450 free. Do you think IP rights are good or evil? You could chime in. We got more Free Talk Live coming up.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Setting the stage for re-election, I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. The Republican National Convention is now underway with delegates in Charlotte, North Carolina nominating President Trump for a second term.
Our country can go in a horrible, horrible direction, or in an even greater direction.
The president speaking to supporters in Charlotte this afternoon, saying Democrats are using voter concerns over coronavirus to steal the election. The president will formally accept his nomination during a speech from the White House Thursday night. The mayor of Kenosha, Wisconsin, trying to keep his city together after the shooting of a black man, apparently by a white police officer, after the officer responded to a domestic disturbance call.
The damage and destruction done the other night is not acceptable.
Mayor John Antaramian addressed a group of protesters who are angry over the shooting of Jacob Blake. It's not clear if Blake was armed. The community says the mayor is culpable for the cops involved.
Because these are under your payroll. You pay them. You are responsible for them.
Mayor Antaramian told them there is a process. A third party has to look into officer-involved shootings. But at a later news conference, he said the issue in the community is...
people are mad. People are upset. And there's a lot of reasons for that.
The National Guard has been called in to help keep the peace. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
White House officials say Attorney General Bill Barr has briefed the president on the Wisconsin shooting and will have further discussions with the Justice Department as more details are made available. House Democrats questioning Postmaster General Louis DeJoy today over concerns changes made at the post office have resulted in nationwide delays in mail deliveries and could affect mail-in voting.
While we have had temporary service decline, which should not have happened, we are fixing this.
DeJoy says none of the changes made at the Postal Service will affect the ability to deliver mail-in ballots for the November election. America is listening to Fox News.
Adjusting to a new normal means we need to be smart about how we do business. Thousands of small business owners have discovered the benefits of Stamps.com and kept their businesses running while avoiding trips to the post office. With Stamps.com, you can print postage on demand, and you'll never pay full price, with access to discounted rates you can't even get at the post office, like 5 cents off every stamp and up to 62% off USPS and UPS shipping rates. Don't waste time at the post office or UPS store. Print official stamps and labels right from your home or office computer for any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail's ready, just leave it for your mail carrier, schedule a free package pickup, or drop it off. It's a no-brainer. Right now, listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Fox. That's Stamps.com. Enter Fox. Stamps.com. Enter Fox.
Congress remains gridlocked over the latest round of coronavirus relief legislation. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is now calling on lawmakers to pass a so-called skinny bill.
What I recommended was another $1 trillion, which is only 1/3 of what the House passed several months ago, but was full of a whole lot of things that were unrelated to the coronavirus.
The measure McConnell's supporting is opposed by some Republicans, and some Democrats see it as strengthening their case for a much larger package. A Texas professor and NASA researcher accused of hiding his affiliation with a Chinese university in relation to China's so-called talents program.
Zhengdong Cheng, who is a professor at Texas A&M University, is charged with conspiracy, making false statements, and wire fraud. Court papers say he led a team that was doing research for NASA, and for several years he took steps to obscure his affiliations and collaboration with a Chinese university and at least one Chinese-owned company. He is also accused of benefiting personally from the affiliation with Texas A&M, as well as getting access to NASA resources like the International Space Station. His participation or coordination with China or any Chinese entity was not allowed. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
The wife of former California Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter sentenced in federal court today to 8 months of home confinement in the corruption case that ended her husband's career. Her confinement was ordered to begin immediately. Margaret Hunter pleaded guilty in June of 2019 to a single corruption count involving the couple's use of more than $200,000 in campaign funds for trips, dinners, clothes, and other personal expenses. She also agreed to testify against her husband. Duncan Hunter was sentenced earlier this year to 11 months in prison after pleading guilty. I'm Rich Dennison, and this is Fox News.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A study published Friday by the University of Minnesota found that mosquitoes have no physiological reason for biting humans, with researchers noting that the insects feed exclusively on pollen and seemingly only suck human blood out of spite.
According to our findings, mosquitoes usually spit out the blood after a bite. They just really enjoy ruining outdoor activities and spreading deadly diseases.
Researchers added that mosquitoes often bite a variety of vertebrates besides humans, including baby pandas, koala bears, and very small puppies, all for fun. And in tech news, a new Visa talking credit card urges buyers to go for it.
Come on, buy it. You know you want it.
In other news, the utterance of a secret password grants customers access to a long-rumored 18-inch Subway sandwich. It's easy to tell what an area man would look like as a skeleton, and a longtime teacher retires without changing a single student's life. This week's scheduled interview with the surly and forlorn Matthew Modine was cut for time and is doomed to never be seen. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
That's right. You are correct. This is Free Talk Live. It's as if you were psychic and you knew that this was the show you were listening to before you started listening to it.
That's pretty impressive.
I know. Our listeners are great, aren't they?
I agree.
Our toll-free number
here. They
here.
can use the schedule.
They can tell time. They know phone numbers. Well, and if they don't, here, let me tell you what it is. It's 855.
And they know all 7 dirty words.
Well, yes, that's true. One guy tried to use all 4 of them.
There's 7.
There are 7, yeah. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733 or 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. You can also get us on our Discord call-in line over at discord.lrn.fm. And I wanted to tell you or ask, do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin Dash, Bitcoin Cash, or Bitcoin SV? Because now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. This is so cool.
Finally.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and it's here. So it only takes a moment. Just visit anypayinc.com and set up your account by entering your crypto wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it.
Woo.
Woo! Now your website takes cryptocurrency thanks to anypayinc.com. AnyPayInc.com. cryptocurrency.com. Such a cool thing. Those guys do great work.
I saw it in action on a video they made, and it was impressive.
How long did it take?
Just works. He had it set up from 0 in 5 minutes. Meaning he didn't even have an AnyPay account, just started from 0 with that.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that we are beginning to see, better apps, like the next generation of better, faster, and more apps for cryptocurrencies. It is so exciting. It's an exciting time for cryptocurrencies right now, and I am very, very happy to see that kind of a thing coming.
Well, just make sure you appease Google and Apple, and then they'll be able to see your app.
Apparently, yeah. I know that I keep telling people that we're kind of as far as cryptocurrency is concerned, we're kind of in a similar trajectory with the technology as the internet was in, say, the AOL CD days.
Oh, the AOL CD days.
Yeah, you remember when
they
AOL
put AOL CDs in everybody's mailbox 10 times in a year or whatever.
Yep. And I used to hog them and trade them.
For what? Other ones?
Well, because people would run out, right? They'd give you free,
they were actually worth
5
something.
hours or whatever, right?
Right.
And so if you just had enough of them, I lived in an apartment complex where they just sort of chucked them on the table, right? And so people would move in and out. It was sort of a collegey area, frequently, and these CDs would be just left there. So I'd grab them and I'd trade them with folks. Oh, you need more AOL minutes? Yeah, here, I got some CDs for you.
We've been talking about the Epic lawsuit against Epic being the name of the company, but it is a big lawsuit against Apple and Google. There's a related story, and I've got more to the story on that, but just since you're talking about, this whole Apple-Google thing, Coinbase, also not a company that we care very much for. I think I can speak for the three of us when I say that. Coinbase is like the big bank of Bitcoin exchanges, and they're not great. But even they have words for Apple. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong tweeted August 22nd that Apple...
Wait, his name is Armstrong.
Brian Armstrong.
Like Strong Armin.
Yep. He's not a very big guy, though, so he wouldn't be able to probably wouldn't be able to beat you.
I could take him?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, all right.
So he tweeted that Apple continues to block some functionalities for cryptocurrencies, including being able to earn money and unrestricted decentralized application browsers. He says, quote, Apple has been very restrictive and hostile to cryptocurrency over the years. They're still blocking some functionality right now. And this is a story that we've heard a myriad of times, is where a Bitcoin wallet company, for instance, won't be allowed to offer certain wallets. We'll let you have your wallet on our app store, but you can't have fill in the blank crypto and I don't know which ones they're prohibiting these days. I don't know if it's Monero or which ones, but there's certain cryptos that Apple has approved. And then there's other ones that they have not approved, and your wallet is not allowed to have those other ones in it if you're developing for an Apple system. So they're way more restrictive on Apple than the Google system. But Epic is suing both Apple and Google because they're saying they are both engaging in anti-competitive practices regarding app distribution and payments.
I will give Epic some credit here. They are living up to their name.
Filing an Epic suit, you mean?
I mean, this sounds like an Epic thing, or it could become Epic. Of course, maybe Google and Apple will get together and be like, "Oh, hey, here's some money. Sorry," right?
Oh, you think they might settle this one?
I mean, it's hard to tell when billions of dollars are involved.
Well, they're saying they don't want money. Epic says they are not looking for a payout, and they're not looking for special treatment. They just want Apple to roll back its anti-competitive practices and allow for fair competition. So they talk about how Apple's forcing developers to agree to what they consider to be unlawful terms.
So, I mean, sure, they're saying that, but is that, people change a whole lot when there's a whole bunch of money involved, right? This is why you're not supposed to start a business with like your best friend, because people change when there's, say, $1 million on the table, or $5 million when you're trying to, grow your company and make it into something bigger than
I've seen it again and again where a partnership falls apart and friendships are suffering as a result of that.
Yeah. So they may say that they don't want to pay out, but I bet you if Apple and Google got together and said, "Hey, if we reduce the fee to 15%, would that be cool?"
That could cause a settlement in this case. The filing argues that the 30% fee that Apple charges is 10 times more than what other companies like PayPal or Stripe charge, which is usually around 3% for a credit card fee.
A 10x time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, that's That's what they think they can get away with, and they have been getting away with this entire time. Apple's full reply, in which they said the App Store is an ecosystem that benefits developers and creates a level playing field.
A level playing field where they can pick the winners and the losers.
Epic Games, here's what Apple says. Here's their actual an excerpt from their response. Epic Games took the unfortunate step of violating the App Store guidelines that are applied equally to every developer and designed to keep the store safe for our users.
Oh yeah, that's what they're concerned about, really.
Right. They're safe.
They don't help themselves when they just lie like this.
They're safe by only being allowed to make one payment through the Apple official payment method. That keeps them safe.
You weren't safe before playing your edition of Fortnite.
They're safe from other options. As a result, their Fortnite app has been removed from the store. Epic enabled a feature in its app which was not reviewed or approved by Apple, and they did so with the express intent of violating the App Store guidelines regarding in-app payments that apply to every developer who sells digital goods.
Epic Games make Apple cry.
They did. Epic has had apps on the App Store for a decade and has benefited from the App Store ecosystem, including the tools, testing, and distribution Apple provides to all developers. Epic agreed to the App Store terms and guidelines freely, and we're glad they've built such a successful business on the App Store. The fact that their business interests now lead them to push for a special arrangement does not change the fact that these guidelines create a level playing field for all developers and make the store safe for all users. We'll make every effort to work with Epic to resolve these violations so they can return Fortnite.
I know what it was safe from. It was safe from them taking the app off of their store.
It was safe from people being able to get the software that they wanted without Apple interfering.
The suit escalated on August 17th. We're back to the CNET story here, where Epic said in a court filing that Apple is now threatening to ban the Unreal Engine code that Epic licenses to other game developers. This is huge. This would affect dozens of apps, including Fortnite's own competitor.
How could they ban a piece of code?
This is going really far.
They can control everything on your phone. They can also push spyware onto your phone, and you'll never know it because they have total control of that platform, something no software company should ever have.
Well, I mean, you asked for it, right? You bought the phone. I
didn't ask for it.
I'm talking about you who bought the phones.
Was there somebody else you could buy from?
Yes, you can buy from Google.
Okay, which does the same thing.
Not quite.
You can. It's like you can vote Democrat or Republican. What do you mean you don't have a choice?
Google doesn't do exactly the same thing. You can still install software without their permission on Google.
I'm just concerned about everything ending up in like a big two. Right? It seems
that's
society's conditioned to only accept two choices instead of many. Free Talk Live. We've got more coming up.
Moose is the German Shepherd and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has been on Dinovite since he's a puppy. DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dinovite.
Dinovite for life.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret Shaving Oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi, my name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live. We're well into the third hour. Boy, how time sure flies when doing this show. We get into all these discussions that are really great. We get into calls from our listeners that are also really great, and the time just flies by. Anyway, our toll-free number is 855-450-3733 or 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. You can also get us on our Discord call-in line over at discord.lrn.fm, where, as a matter of fact, we have a caller right now. We have Ratspeed calling in. Ratspeed, you're on Free Talk Live.
Greetings. How's everyone?
Hey, Ratspeed.
What's on your mind?
Hey, well, I love these conversations, especially when you kind of go into the whole legal aspect about copyright, intellectual property, patents, trademark, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big watcher on these kind of subjects. I have been for many years. I mean, I started using the internet back in the 90s, and my first computer was back in the early 80s. So I've
Nice.
seen all of this. Yeah. So one little known fact that I just wanted to bring up, you were mentioning like how come phones have these app stores versus PCs where you don't. Well, I mean, if you kind of look at the history of it, originally, things were free because no one cared about the software. We're talking going all the way back to the 60s and 70s when these first Unix computer systems were even invented. And as soon as people wanted jobs in the early 80s, they started, going to these big, corporate companies and getting into proprietary software. And so, of course, what was the response to that? The Free Software Foundation created the GNU General Purpose License, which was meant to counteract all of this proprietary software to provide free software, or what later on, much to the chagrin of people like Richard Stallman, turned into the quote-unquote open source
So
software movement.
Just to clarify for our listeners, that has nothing to do with the No GNUs is Good GNUs with Gary GNU guy from the Great Space Coaster. Just in case anybody's confused about that, I just wanted to clear that up.
You never know,
Also,
especially.
Their code doesn't work on self-driving taxi cabs because, as George Bush said, no GNU taxis.
That's cute.
I mean, first of all, who knows? GNU. First of all, you're talking about nerds from the 1970s. Of course, they're going to have really, really of humor and senses of irony. The word GNU itself means GNU, not Unix. It's, in other words, it's like a repeating cycle.
Oh, right. Okay.
And you have tons of these things. So that's off the point. All of that code base eventually led way to the Linux operating system, or the Linux kernel for the operating system.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually people started saying, well, how are we going to find out what kind of apps are out there, what kind of programs, what kind of software? And that led to the invention of repositories, because you had the internet suddenly where you could just download updates for your software instead of having to constantly go out searching for them. These repositories were originally the first kind of loose concept of an app store, because what happens is you have a centralized index of these applications. So what happened is eventually that led to different types for different distributions, which led to the Ubuntu software store. Now, coincidentally, at the same time, Apple had the iTunes store for its MP3s, very proprietary. You had to pay for it. There was digital restrictions management on each of the MP3s that you downloaded. Podcasts were free, but that's because the people that were publishing them were not under the control of Apple. And so that's the operating system for these phones. Even the Apple iPhone is still based off of the same general source code, bits and pieces of it, and therefore they were able to take advantage of that repository framework. And then, of course, Google, when they launched theirs, they were competing exactly with it. They created the Google Store. So, and then even today, the Ubuntu Software Center eventually turned into what's called Ubuntu Software, which uses what are called snap files, or it's like a snap store, which a lot of people have problems with.
Is the Ubuntu version open source?
It all depends on the individual publisher. However, what happens is that the company that starts Ubuntu, or that controls it, called Canonical, they are the ones that put together the pre-compiled distribution packages for its software, which most of the time people complain about it being out of date, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Usually there's some security flaws. So if you and then same guy that made the GNU operating system and the GPL, Richard Stallman, that's one of the Ubuntu Software Center is one of the reasons why Richard Stallman originally protested against the distribution of Ubuntu, because it's the actual source code for some of Ubuntu is not free. It's not open source, including
what parts of it are open source?
There are a few features that are built into Ubuntu that do things that Richard and the Free Software Foundation opposed to. One of them is automatic updates.
Right,
so that means that your have an automatic update that could install a backdoor without your knowledge, things like that. It's very difficult for people to be controlled under this free operating system environment, if you will. But when you don't have root access to your phone, that all changes. This whole problem comes to people need to have full access to their phones, and this whole locking down thing, and we're going to brick your phone if you try to unlock it, and all of this proprietary what is it's a continuing problem. And so this whole thing that's happening with Riot and Epic and all these different gaming distribution clients, like Steam and all of these things, they're all having this big territory war over something that the Linux users have always shrugged their shoulders at, like, just come come on in, the water's fine.
But of course, the Linux users never tried, and Linux distribution developers never tried to lock you in.
Right. It's all cabbage. It's cabbage. It's a bunch of cabbage.
What's cabbage?
Yeah,
That's,
they cannot lock you into something that they cannot control. And since the actual source code itself is completely available and locked into what's called a copyleft license, they can, if you don't like something and if you have the ability to develop for it, you can just take it right out of there. There's no.
So are there any other Radspeed? Are there any other options out there for people who want to have a more open phone platform? I mean,
yes.
What would you recommend?
Yes. Guess what? Okay, so the original developer of Android, before it got bought out from Google, he didn't like where Android went. So what he did was he took the open source or the free software portions of it and started developing his own operating system.
Can you hang on to tell us about that? Would you mind?
Absolutely.
Stand by.
Yeah, stand by. We'll just put you on hold. We'll bring you back. This is very interesting. I am very excited to know that there is an alternative to both the Android and the iPhone. So
I don't know if there's an iPhone alternative.
Well, we'll find out. Coming up, this is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
And we're back. Welcome back. Yes, we've come back. Welcome back to the show on the radio.
We actually never went away.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
Or in this case, just tune in. Whether you're listening on the radio or through the internet, you are welcome to give a call to 855-450-3733. That's 855-450, free as in freedom. This is Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's me, Ian.
And nobody.
And before we get back to Rat Speed and our discussion of the origin of the app stores, I want to take a second and give a shout-out to Aaron, who is tonight's amplifier. Thank you, Aaron. He is a platinum amplifier, which means he gives more than just the $5, which is the minimum, over at amp.freetalklive.com.
Thanks, Aaron.
What is the amplifier program, you may ask, and ask you may? It is simply a method for you to show your support for this program and help us get on more radio stations. We're currently at somewhere close to 200 radio stations. We could be on 220, 250, 300 stations. It's all up to you. You can go and find out.
1 million radio stations.
Not possible.
Yeah, I think there's not
I don't think there are a million.
But you can go over to amp.freetalklive.com and you can sign up for the amplifier program. There are some perks for that and learn all about it over there. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Aaron, who is tonight's amplifier. Thank you, Aaron.
All right.
If you like our programming, you like the information that we bring you, the characters that appear on this program 7 nights a week, then, please do check out amp.freetalklive.com. Going back to your calls, we held on to Rat Speed because we were in the middle of a discussion about the origin of the app stores, and he was giving us some really good information. And we had a question. What was the question?
Well, he was going to tell us what some of the alternatives might be out there for people that are wanting to have a more free operating system for their phone. I know that there are, these roll-your-own versions of Android available for anyone who's willing to go through the process of basically doing a little bit of hackery on their phone. They can go through and do what they call a root process on their phone, which then gives them the ability, once they do things like unlock their bootloader, and not to get too technical, it allows them to install these special forms of software. This is not within the average user's ability in most cases, although there are some fairly simple sets of instructions for some phones that one can follow. So it's relatively step-by-step in most cases, but it's still scary to do it because you could brick the phone.
Now, when a hacker gets root on your box, he'll say he's owned you because basically he owns that machine once he has root on it. Since you don't have root on your phone, chances are you don't own it.
Okay, well, let's give Ratspeed a chance to tell us.
Yeah, you guys are exactly on the money, Ian. That's exactly what it is. The reason why you don't see a lot of these alternative open source or free software alternatives is because it's not marketed, because there's no money to be made off of it, and you have to essentially either buy a phone that has been that has no parent or has no, it's unlocked for you, which is becoming a little bit more common as smartphones are so superfluous.
Most of the phones on Amazon are unlocked.
Now hold on, wait a minute. When you say unlocked, I think in a lot of cases the unlocked means that they can operate on any phone network, Not necessarily that the bootloader is unlocked or that the technical side of the phone is unlocked.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, there's actually two different things in there, and you're right. And also, the phone companies that are leasing these phones out to people are specifically making it hard for people to do it. So that way, there's a higher learning curve. The whole reason
beyond
why
the
we have
learning curve, because I've been considering putting one of these Linux distributions on my phone. Can you still get phone service once you've done that? You can.
Definitely.
Nice.
I've done it with almost every phone I've had up until the last couple of years. The only reason I don't do it now is because I moved to Google Fi as my service provider. And Google Fi, their big selling point is they let you use different towers from different companies, different service providers. So there's 3 different providers with Google Fi, and unfortunately, every single one of these sort of alternatives for the operating system, none of them support the switching between the towers. So
they can't do the handoffs.
You can go to one of these alternatives, but then you only get T-Mobile, and you can't go to any of the others. So it kills one of the reasons that I signed up for that, unfortunately.
So, Ian, you actually kind of jumped to my main point that I was going to ultimately get to is the real monopoly is the telephone network itself.
Now, this is a good point.
Because, I mean, God, everyone from you guys have talked about Rick Falkvinga from the Pirate Party before, and he was a big advocate of Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. He himself has talked about how the whole gatekeeper culture of all of these different technologies continues on. And he goes, out of all of this expansion of technology, he predicted, and I think it was back in 2011 or 12 when he was talking at a crypto conference. He said he predicted at the time that one of the next quote unquote victims, if you will, which he used it in quotes because he did mention that they get about a 4 million% profit margin off of their roaming capabilities. He said the next quote unquote victim of this will be the telephone companies.
The victim of what exactly? Sorry.
Of not being able to control devices, in other words, not being able to be in the position of a gatekeeper. He was using the word victim in a sarcastic manner. So
and when you say that, do you mean like yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you mean like he was talking about how voice over IP doesn't run around a lot of the traditional phone networks?
He was predicting the end of the telephone companies just in the same way that the deprecation of the post office has been happening, just in the same way he predicted the end of banks would happen due to cryptocurrencies.
Right, newspapers and all that, right.
When you don't need their permission to do something anymore, when you have total lateral global communication. I mean, think about it.
Well, you don't, though, because the internet doesn't have its original design anymore. The internet originally, I'm guessing you know this, was more or less a mesh network. It everybody had 5 or 6 connections to. It was all universities and businesses, but they would have 5 or 6 different connections to other users, and the internet was decentralized. Now there are 3 companies, more or less, or 4 companies, big phone companies that run the entire internet, and
this is why he would always end in that caveat, because he was always talking to developers. Rick Falkvinga he was saying it's up to you guys to be vigilant and to develop faster than these mega corporations can. Otherwise, we'll lose our chance. And remember, he gave this talk back in somewhere around 2011 or 12. Well, I mean, I would say exactly, the warning that he gave to these developers is. I mean, there's global catastrophes and different governmental politics and aspects of human intervention that kind of slowed this down. I mean, people are still trying to adopt cryptocurrencies, things like that. But overall, his time scale, I mean, think about it. All of these centralized national governments, if you think about it, are really having a hard time trying to catch up with this internet thing.
Right, because they don't innovate. They're
slow and stupid.
Yeah, it's not in their nature to innovate. The innovation has to come from elsewhere.
No, they stop innovation. That's what their nature is, just to get in the way.
Every central every central government from the U.S. pointing fingers at China and vice versa, and then you have the Arabs pointing at the Christians. They're all having a hard time trying to maintain control, and all they know how to do is just make more laws for something they can't control.
Thanks for the call. Thanks for the call tonight, Rat Speed.
Very
we do
informative.
appreciate it. Yeah, I always love talking to him. He's a smart dude.
guy. Yeah.
855-450-FREE is our toll-free number.
This lawsuit gets dirtier if you want to hear more about it.
We will hear more about it coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MacTech Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
When you have a pain in the neck, a real pain in the neck, back, shoulder, or legs, you now have two convenient choices to get fast relief without taking another pill. Because now, Sunny Bay heating wraps and pillows are available at both Amazon and Walmart. Yes, see Sunny Bay's 4.5 to 5-star customer reviews on Amazon.com or Walmart.com. Our made in the USA microwavable heat wraps, heatable neck pillows, and extra large body wraps are designed better for perfect support where and when you need it. Even while driving, Sunny Bay wraps will not burn and stay balanced to provide soothing hot or cold therapy to help treat temporary or chronic pain. And the best part? Sunny Bay quality products start at under $20. Join thousands of happy customers and see why Sunny Bay products have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy. It's easy. Click Amazon or Walmart and search today for Sunny Bay.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live. It appears that this is the final segment. We still have time to get you in if you dial quickly, 855-450-3733. Ian, you had mentioned, and it's Ian, nobody, and Captain Kickass in the studio tonight. Ian, you had mentioned there was a bit more about this lawsuit that gets pretty interesting. Let's have it.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the lawsuit that Epic Games has filed against not just Apple, but another one against Google, and we've been focusing on the Apple aspect of this one because arguably Apple is the worst of the two as far as their App Store is locked down, unlike the Play Store. For instance, if you've got an app that you've designed and you want to get it into both places, it's always harder to get on Apple because they have some sort of a review process where humans are involved and there's you got to hoop jump in order to get your stuff there. Google Play not as restrictive, and that's actually resulted in some problems for Google because Apple puts their software through a little bit more of a process. You're less likely to see malware and just straight up, nasty stuff uploaded to the iPhone store. But in the case of Google, they'll pretty much let anybody publish anything, and then after the fact, they'll go in and clean up if it's determined to be malicious. Right. So, but just a final thought here on the Apple piece from CNET.com. The real nasty part of this is Epic is saying that Apple's now threatening to ban Unreal Engine. Now, what is Unreal Engine? So, Unreal Engine, there's a game that Epic came out with, a first-person shooter game called Unreal.
Pew, pew.
Years ago, probably more than a decade ago. And Unreal runs on the Unreal Engine. An engine is a term for video games. That's the core code that runs the guts of the game. Well, a lot of these game companies aren't actually like original engine game designers. They just change the sort of the graphics. They change the rules that apply to the engine.
It's what they really are is designers and not engineers.
There you go. Right. So Unreal Engine is the thing that runs a bunch of games. There are games that are not first-person shooters that run this engine because it's a very versatile engine for just making a game with.
Sure.
And so now, apparently, Epic is claiming that Apple is threatening to ban any games running the Unreal Engine from their platform. So even game companies that are not Epic games...
You mean Android?
Sorry, Apple.
Apple
is threatening to ban Unreal Engine code, meaning any game company that is using this game's this code, even if they're not Epic because it's licensed by other game companies, could be thrown off of the Apple App Store if they get their way. And this, of course, would affect dozens of apps. Quote, not content to simply remove Fortnite from the App Store, Apple is attacking Epic's entire business in unrelated areas, Epic said in its filing, saying further, if the Unreal Engine can no longer support Apple platforms, the software developers that use it will be forced to use alternatives. So, I mean, this is an incredibly stupid thing for Apple to do.
And also, these companies will lose huge investments because you can't just take a game that runs on one engine and make it run on something else.
Right. Yeah, you can't
spit and baling wire.
You can't put a Toyota engine into a Chevy.
Right. It's not what it's designed for.
Right.
So Apple then fired back on August 21st, releasing a cache of emails between Epic's CEO Tim Sweeney and Apple, showing that the Fortnite maker was seeking special treatment, or so they claim. Specifically, Epic wanted to run a competing app store and process payments itself, rather than relying on Apple's app store and its in-app purchase system that takes the commission of up to 30%.
And of course, that would be... The big problem that you're going to run into there is the Digital Millennium copyright ad, because if they have things on their phone designed to prevent you from rooting that phone, and you root it, you're technically in violation of the Digital Millennium copyright ad, and that you have circumvented a computer system. And
has anyone ever been charged with that?
The DMCA violation
for a phone? I don't know. But they're all every year they do something worse that they've never done before.
Good point. Generally, I've heard that your worst case scenario with rooting a phone is that it just voids your warranty. So like you can't take it in to have the warranty repair done in that particular case. That's one of the risks. Apple argues that the CEO of Epic expressly acknowledged that his proposed changes would be in direct breach of multiple terms of the agreements between Epic and Apple. He acknowledged that Epic could not implement its proposal unless the agreements were modified. So he's saying, we want to make this change. We want to have our own Epic Game Store available on your platform, but we know we can't do it, so we need to change the terms of the agreements. And obviously, Apple wasn't willing to do that. They say, quote, we strongly believe these rules are vital to the health of the Apple platform, because it's making them money,
right?
And carry enormous benefits for both consumers and developers.
It sounds like they're drawing lines in the sand.
And the other thing is, if the government ever bans encryption, they're going to need that single choke point of the app stores to keep encryption off your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So apparently Epic released a video in response to all this, parodying Apple's famous 1984 ad. Back in 1983, Apple released an ad promoting the upcoming launch of what was then the Macintosh, rallying or railing against the then entrenched.
I loved Apple then, and the Macintosh just turned me off because you literally couldn't even open the case without a special tool.
Oh, they were terrible with that stuff, and they kept going with that forever.
But I loved the Apple II. That's what I learned on.
Apple IIe was my first.
So they were railing against the then entrenched brand IBM. Epic's video says Apple's become the new big brother of industry, a hugely powerful and overbearing entity. It's something that Epic expounds more aggressively in its suit, saying, quote, Apple has become what it once railed against, the behemoth seeking to control markets, block competition, and stifle innovation. Apple is bigger, more powerful, more entrenched, and more pernicious than the monopolists of yesteryear, at a market cap of nearly $2 trillion. Apple's size and reach far exceeds that of any technology monopolist in history. So they are on the attack here. This is a pretty big fight. And then the article does go on to what they did with Google, saying that Google acquired Android's mobile operating system more than a decade ago, promising repeatedly over the time that Android would be the basis for an open ecosystem in which industry participants could freely innovate. This is, again, from the lawsuit. Epic wrote this, and compete without unnecessary restrictions. Since then, Google has deliberately and systematically closed the Android ecosystem to competition, breaking the promises that it made. Remember when they used to be "Don't be evil" was their...
Yeah, they took that down.
They actually changed that philosophy. So I guess their philosophy is now be evil.
What else could it be? Google's anti-competitive conduct has now been condemned by regulators the world over. They argue that
screw regulators.
Yeah. Well, so that's what they're doing. Epic is pandering to this belief that a lot of people in the computer field have about open source, and I'm with them on that. But of course, Epic itself has its own game store, by the way, wherein they're charging, I'm sure, some sort of fee to these game companies to list their games on their game store. So it's just one big bad company versus
that
another.
That may be the difference, but nobody has to buy their games from Epic.
That's true.
You have other choices.
You have to buy your games from Epic?
Shush. You have other choices. And with Android, they are doing their best to make it so you don't have other choices, just as Apple has done their best to see to it that you don't have other choices, and Microsoft has done their best to see to it that you don't have other choices.
Here's an interesting aside. So I was asking, I don't know if it was on the air or off the air, but are there any phone companies offering a different system, not Android, not iOS, somebody like offering one of these open source systems where their phone ships with it? Epic struck a deal with a phone maker called OnePlus. Now, I'm not familiar with this company.
Me neither.
They struck a deal to make Epic games available on their phones through the Epic Games app, so instead of the Play Store app. The Epic Games app would have allowed users to seamlessly install and update their Epic games, including Fortnite, without the obstacles imposed by Android's OS. But Google forced the phone company, OnePlus, to renege on the deal, citing Google's particular concern about Epic having the ability to install and update mobile games while bypassing the Google Play Store.
They are actually putting themselves in great danger of antitrust action. Except that, of course, they're the ultimate cronies, so why would the government do that to them? The government would rather have your personal information at their fingertips, and Google is happy to give it that. Which is the other reason they can't let you escape from their platform, because if you have a choice, you're going to use software that doesn't report your information to the government.
It's an interesting case, and we'll keep an eye on it as time goes on.
Yeah, I would like to know more about this as it progresses for certain. I would also like to know if there is, some other phone, up and coming. Anybody planning on releasing something that, may directly compete with Google and Apple? Because
I think it's called the Pine Phone, is a Linux phone coming out.
That's all the time we have for tonight. This is Free Talk Live, freetalklive.com. Thanks, everybody.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without